The live stream has now started on YouTube. The live stream has started on YouTube. Principal sir is joining.
हेलो हाँ जी सर प्लीज ज्वाइन कीजिए ना, हम आपकी वेट कर रहे हैं. Oh, sorry. I'll just check. Gursidak, our guest Dr. Amit has joined, but he's not able to unmute himself. जरा जल्दी check करो. Dr. Amitkumar Singh. Gursidak.
Yes, ma'am, I'm checking.
जरा
Yes,
जल्दी
Lakshya
saying I'm trying to
the co-host.
हाँ जी जल्दी करो फिर. It's 10:30. We need to start.
Yes, ma'am, we have made him the co-host.
Okay.
I have made him the co-host.
Hello, ma'am.
Hanji, good morning.
Hello.
I'm so sorry for this confusion, but we were waiting for you actually.
I was waiting from the last 5 minutes. If somebody will unmute me.
Good morning, principal sir. Principal sir.
Hello ji. Hello Amit ji.
Hello sir. Hello sir. नमस्कार सर. कैसे सर आप?
I'm good. How Gurminder? How are you?
मैंने कहा मुझे म्यूट किया हुआ था. मैं कह रहा हूँ मेरी आवाज सुनाओ.
I know.
हेलो सुधीर जी, कैसे हैं? सुधीर जी नमस्कार.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, सुधीर जी. कैसे हैं?
Professor. I'm good. मैं बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ. Thank you so much, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you. Same here. Shall we start or shall we wait?
Please, sir. Rasleen, start.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
can start now.
A very good morning to esteemed speakers, principal sir, and distinguished audience. I, Rasleen Kaur, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Shri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce, would take the privilege to welcome you all to the webinar on Art of Writing Research Paper, Literature Review Perspective, presented by Department of Commerce and Internal Quality Assurance Cell, IQAC, Shri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce. I would take this opportunity to share a brief profile of our college, Shri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce. Shri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce, founded in 1984 as the second commerce college of the University of Delhi, is a premier institute specializing in commerce, economics, business studies, computer science, and Punjabi. The college is recognized for the academic excellence. The emphasis is on the provision of quality education, accompanied with the character development and cultural growth, so as to prepare socially responsible citizens. And I guess this is the reason the college has secured an A grade ranking by National Assessment and Accreditation Council, NAAC. The college has also been placed amongst the top 100 higher education institutions on the performance by National Institute Ranking Framework, NIRF, of the Ministry for the Human Resource Development. And as you can see, the college possesses modern infrastructure, including spacious classrooms, sprawling grounds, a well-equipped library, a state-of-the-art auditorium, highly sophisticated computer labs, seminar hall and conference room, along with the disabled-friendly ramps and spacious 8-person elevator in the teaching block. Beginning the proceedings of the day, I would request Dr. Gurminder Kaur, Head of the Department of Commerce, to give an introductory note. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Rasleen. A very pleasant good morning to our esteemed panelists for the day, Dr. Amitkumar Singh and Dr. Sudhir Rana, our principal, Dr. J.B. Singh, my dear friends from the college and DU faculty, and research scholars from in and out of India. I, Dr. Gurminder Kaur, extend a very warm welcome to you all on this webinar organized by the Department of Commerce and Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Shri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce on the topic Art of Writing Research Paper, Literature Review Perspective. In the words of Mervyn Gordon, no research is ever quite complete. It is the glory of the good bit of work that it opens the way for something still better. And this repeatedly leads to its eclipse. So developing research and relating it to the existing knowledge is the building block of all academic research activities in any discipline. Therefore, it is imperative that research is accurately, However, while knowledge production in the field of research has been accelerating, it is fragmented and interdisciplinary at the same time. This makes it hard to keep up with the state-of-art research as well as to assess collective evidence in a particular research area. This is why literature review as research evidence is more relevant than ever. A literature review can broadly be described as a systematic way of collecting and synthesizing previous research. An effective and well-conducted method creates a foundation for advancing knowledge and facilitating theory development. By integrating findings and perspectives from many empirical researches, this kind of research can have the power to address problems that no single research can do. Literature review can also help to provide an overview in the area in which research is disparate and interdisciplinary. In addition, it is an excellent way of showing research evidence at a meta level and to cover areas where research is needed the most and is the critical component of theoretical frameworks and building conceptual models. However, traditional methods of describing and portraying the literature is not done systematically and so may lack thoroughness. In order to achieve high quality and perfection in any research, there is a need for proper guidance and to carry out effective research. We are very fortunate to have amongst us research academicians Dr. Amit and Dr. Sudhir to guide us on how to write such research papers clearly and concisely, and also to get tips for getting such research papers published in Scopus Index journals, and last but not the least, how to calculate citation index and its impact factors and other metrics. I will end with a famous quote by Werner von Braun: research is what I am doing when I do not know what I am doing. So at least I need to know the right way of what I am doing. So with these words, now I request our Principal Sir, Dr. J.B. Singh, to welcome the guest and give his opening remarks. Over to you, Principal Sir.
Dr. Amit, welcome. Dr. Sudhir Rana, both the guests for today's webinar. We are fortunate to have both of you on our webinar. We thought of this topic because of one reason, that Delhi University, when we all went into the lockdown period, Delhi University by its message said to all teachers that you can utilize this free time to write research papers and to consolidate your research experience. So though we are coming to the end of almost the end of the lockdown period, but there's never too late to inform our teachers about the need for writing good papers in Scopus Index and Web of Science and other index journals. And one of the way the topic says that how to write papers in the review literature domain. We all know that there are different ways of writing papers. Of course, one can also write in terms of very abstract mathematical theoretical modeling, where you prove anything by mathematics. The other could be the empirical way of writing papers, where you have a research question and you actually validate that research question through empirical investigation, and that also contains a part of which is the literature review. But the third standalone way of writing the research paper, as we all understand, is the literature review, and this in itself has carved a niche for itself in many of the research journals. I am from economics. I know that many of the research literature reviews being published in some of the handbooks that become very seminal papers for anyone to actually get a hang of what is being done in that particular field. if for somebody who's actually a beginner in terms of doing research, if you the first thing that if you can do is to go through the review of literature paper, then that gives you a kind of broad view as to what are the areas under which research is being done, and what are the direction in which research is being done. And then whatever fascinates you, you have interest, then you can pick up those areas and get into that particular topic. And we all know that this is not a easy way of writing paper. If we think that empirical examination would require econometrics and sophisticated techniques and other things, and thinking that probably literature review is easy, is not so, because when you're actually aiming to publish in good quality journals, and the standards that are adopted by those journals are also very high, and the knockdown is very, very high in those journals also. And so to write a good quality paper on literature review in itself is a Herculean task, and requires a lot of patience, and requires reading of so many papers. I mean, I remember looking at some papers. Some had reviewed even so much so as 200 papers, and giving those acknowledgements in that paper that what do they write, and what are the different subtopics under which you can do. So we are all looking forward, the teachers of our college and others who have joined the webinar. We are all keen to know as to how we can actually enable our teachers to write good quality literature review papers, and looking forward to hearing from both Dr. Amit and Dr. Sudhir Rana for illuminating our vistas of knowledge, so that we and our teachers are better informed in terms of the requirements of publishing these kind of papers in good quality journals. Thank you so much, both these guests, for having joined us in this webinar, and also Dr. Gurminder for organizing this webinar. Over to you, Gurminder, for further proceedings.
Thanks for the enlightening words, sir. Now, I would like to introduce our first speaker of the day, Dr. Amitkumar Singh. Though Dr. Amitkumar Singh needs no introduction, but as a custom, let me present his brief introduction to you all. Dr. Amitkumar Singh is an associate professor in Department of Commerce, Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. He has various accolades to his credit. He is a gold medalist, and he has won various prizes at postgraduate level. He has completed his MPhil and PhD from Department of Commerce, Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. He has vast teaching experience of more than 18 years, and his areas of specialization are finance and investment management, initial public offerings market in particular. And he has written more than 15 papers in this domain. He has authored, co-authored, edited 10 books, and has more than 65 research papers and articles published in reputed national and international journal, namely Sage Publication, Indian Journal of Finance, Elsevier Scopus Index Journal, Indian Journal of Research in Capital Markets, etc. He has also presented research papers in various reputed national and international conferences, namely European Financial Management Association, Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, IBS Gurgaon, IBS Hyderabad, IIM Bangalore, IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Indore. I must say the list was quite extensive, and it was a hard time for me to cut it short and edit it. So, and World Finance Conference, All India Commerce Conference, All India Accounting Conference, and not to forget to mention, his research papers have been selected as best paper for 8 times in this fora. With these words, I would like to request Dr. Amitkumar Singh to take over from here. Sir, over to you. I would request Dr. Amitkumar Singh, sir, to please take over the session from here onwards. Yes, sir.
I hope he's not muted. Can somebody unmute him?
He's again on mute.
Gusita, can you please see what is the
Yes,
issue?
ma'am, I'm checking.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
checking. I've unmuted, sir.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir, you are. Please continue.
उसी में Commerce department. मैं कर लूंगा. Hello.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
GGS College, Shri Guru Gobind Singh College. Commerce department के नाम से. हेलो.
Yes, sir.
मैं कर रहा हूँ. क्यों बोल रहे हैं आप? आ रही है. हेलो.
Sir, please, we can hear
Professor
you.
Singh.
Begin, sir.
We can hear you properly.
Sir, please begin. We can hear you.
Okay. My PPTs are visible.
Yes.
Yes, sir, we can see the screen.
You can see the screen.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Can I rejoin in 5 minutes? I think some problem is there from my side.
Sure.
Sure, sir.
Dr. Kaur, if you wish, I think I'm ready to begin, and Professor Singh can join us later. Professor Singh, you can. I mean, you feel free. You complete whatever task you was doing.
I have some problem.
Yeah.
Sudhir, you can start.
This is what I have asked from Dr. Kaur. If I can start, I can do that.
Okay, sir.
You can start. I will take after your session.
Sure. Not a problem.
Why is my screen?
Okay, sir, let me first introduce the audience with the second speaker of the day.
Yes. But why is my screen? Yeah. Yeah, Rasleen, please.
Before,
Dr.
yes,
Ah.
right, ma'am. Before proceeding further, I would like to share the information with the audience. The audience can put their queries in the chat box, as we'll be having a question answer session, which will be conducted at the end of the webinar. Let me introduce the next speaker of the day with us, Dr. Sudhir Rana. So Dr. Sudhir Rana is an associate professor of marketing and FPM, PhD chairperson at Fortune Institute of International Business, and adjunct faculty at Maastricht School of Management, Netherlands and Kuwait. His research area includes consumer behavior, international marketing, and business education. He is an MBA and PhD with MHRD scholarship from Government of India and postdoctorate from Putra Business School, University of Putra, Malaysia. He has published numerous papers with Emerald, Elsevier, Taylor and Francis, Sage, Indoscience, etc. He's an editor of FIIB Business Review, which is published quarterly by Sage Publications, South Asian Journal of Marketing Emerald, and Advances in Emerging Markets and Business Operation, published by Routledge, Taylor, and Francis. He is a researcher at heart and spends all his time either teaching or in research work. He has been mentoring various budding researchers. I would request Dr. Sudhir Rana to share his words of wisdom with the audience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Dr. Kaur, and I'm very thankful to the organizers of this beautiful webinar, especially got in touch with me for quite some time, and we discussed that how we are going to, share my experience through this platform with the audience today. And I'm thankful to the committee of your esteemed institution who took this step forward to share knowledge, wisdom, and open eyes for the participants who joined today. Would like to congratulate to all the scholars who are here with us today. Reason being that starting and thinking of it is itself a beginning. Well, what I'm gonna share with you is my own experience, and before that, let me share something with you. I came from commerce background while I did my master's in finance. It was my master of business administration, but I took for finance specialization. Fortunately or unfortunately, whatever you call it, I opted for my PhD program in an institution which is engineering dominated. NIT, IITs in India are engineering dominated. I had to do lot many things on my own, and there I learned that how important this literature review can be. From there to now, I would say that this has actually transformed my life. I was an ordinary scholar, and when I started exploring domain and the kind of arguments that I put into the literature has actually not only made me sail through to what I come across, also helped me out in setting such quite benchmark that has been appreciated by my senior scholars. And whatever editorship experience I gained in past 6 years, that has also made me learn a lot many things, because I then had two eyes. One, being a scholar myself, and the second, being an editor, my job is to critically evaluate research work of somebody. So when I'm critically evaluating research work of somebody, it is learning in itself. And while I am producing my own research work or I'm working on a new project, those critical thoughts come into my mind. I'm going to share a blend of both, consolidation of both with you. uh, yeah, I have a request, and the request is that please do not send a request to share presentations. Rather, I would like you to have your notes, or if you have any question, then you please feel free to ask to me. Second, I'm going to share a lot of samples, so you need not to worry about the samples. Samples I'm going to share with you. Okay, so that you will have an idea that what I talk and where you can relate it. Okay, so am what is the agenda that I took today to discuss with between us is art of writing a good literature review paper. As honorable principal has also described that what important is there in the literature, and how do you organize it in a way systematically so that it becomes important for other scholars of the field, is that we are going to discuss. I have published a couple of review papers, and specifically in Journal of Business Research, where I have recently published one paper, and I have also published one literature review paper. Second is I have published one paper and these are the pure review papers that I'm talking about, not the empirical one, is with International Journal of Emerging Markets. That's also a good journal. Third is recently with Journal of Promotion Management, and I'm editor of FIB Business Review, so I handle a couple of literature review people there. So what I'm going to talk about is, and what is that you need to open up your mind is first myth. We think that every literature review paper looks similar to me. That is the first impression that comes from literature review paper, that literature review paper is a literature review paper and it is just containing some of the papers that you read or you see, and there is not a scientific method around it. So first perception that come more review paper, so it do not create actually any difference in our mind. We think that literature review paper is all same. And second, it comes that okay, it is non-empirical paper. So simply what strike the first time in our mind is that oh, it's a paper which do not have any method. You have to simply bring some thoughts from the literature, combine it, bring some argument and present it. But I would like to demystify what you have been thinking here. Literature review paper are far more grounded, were far more organized than any other research method. And why I think personally that literature review papers are important, because literature review paper give you the knowledge and wisdom both in the knowledge domain or in that particular field. Whatever field you're working, if you know the literature in that domain, your job becomes easy as a scholar. When you have an understanding of literature that is available in the domain, then working on your own research gaps, building arguments, that becomes more easy for you. And you have certain aspects on tips, like you know who is the best author working, you know which are the best methods being incorporated, you know that what are the heavy arguments going on in the literature, you know that which are the journals dominating in that particular domain. You know lot many things that help you out, not only when you plan your research, also when you position your research and offer your research for publication to any of the good journal. So you need to be very careful when you are writing these literature review papers. And this is the fact. The fact is, because these are non-empirical paper, in an empirical paper, we know the sequence, that how my research methodology gonna look like. In my research methodology, I'm gonna use some sample techniques, I'm gonna use the data collection methods, I'm gonna discuss the tools, I'm gonna discuss the analytical techniques that I have opted for. So I'm quite, you know, we are quite familiar, because we, especially in India, we have been trained for empirical methods, and we have never been trained, or there are only few platforms where we have been trained on writing literature review papers more specifically and more generally understanding the conceptual matters. So when I compare this between the European context of research and the Asian context of research, you'll often find that here methodology is just playing a role in knowing certain techniques, though that is not the case. A methodology is much more wider, bigger than what we think, or you know, it's not just limited to the technique or knowing a software or playing with data. So that we are going to discuss, that how do you overcome with this problem of designing a good literature review paper, and how, what are the kind of templates that can act as a guide. And basically I'm going to share some templates with you that will act as a guideline for you, because these are the shortlisted papers that I'm going to share. And also these papers are very known in their own field. So these can be act as a guideline to you, as a template to you, where you have a chance of looking at the literature review papers. But before you actually go into the method side, These are certain things that you need to decide and pen down before you plan on containing the previous literature to begin your literature review. One is the purpose. Why are you writing it? Why do you think that this review is important for a wider community? Always remember that empirical literature, or sorry, empirical papers have a set of audience, and review papers do not have that set of audience. Literature review paper is are more general than the more specific. Okay, I'll tell you in a simple way that when you start the funnel of research in an empirical paper come from broader perspective to a narrow perspective. But in literature review papers, the conceptual paper is actually reverse. It start from a very small idea and then you cover a lot of spectrum. So the number of people and the kind of people who are going to read your literature and conceptual papers are going to be a bigger audience than do you think that something that you write you have a common purpose between all those wider community and yourself, so you'll have to bring a bandwidth that the purpose that you're okay. One thing I would like to bring as a conflict of purpose here, something that you're doing for your PhD and you think that the literature review that you need for your PhD thesis can be published as a paper, please, you will have to plan the literature review paper in uh, in a different way. It cannot be just your chapter that you want to portray as a literature review in your thesis. So literature review papers are different than your literature review chapter. Mind it and understand it. And the second is the process. That's how you're going to organize, because there is a lot of information available today. And when you look at any domain, probably any domain, even if I talk about the new domains like blockchain or human augmentation or the augmented reality or industry 5.0, 4.0, there are numerous papers in such domains too. Or even if you think that unprecedented time you want to review, you'll get number of papers on COVID-19. So any domain is not untouched. So when you think that how you're going to contain all this literature, because this is very bulky, this is very heavy, not in terms of size, in terms of numbers. So how you're going to organize it. And the third is the structure. This is very critical to understand and also very important. And when you look at the literature review papers, you'll not be able to comprehend that which type of literature review is right and how you are going to make difference in your own literature review paper. But this is when you will understand it. Organizing it will be far more easy than any other. So I'm gonna do that. One pointers from my side to you that can help you out as a guideline and also position your literature review paper better into the quality journals. These are the literature review papers are the critical evaluations. When we develop hypothesis into an empirical paper, you have to have arguments to support that. It doesn't work much in literature review paper. You'll have to have a different different angle to look at the literature. And mostly it has to be a critical perspective that this has been done, this has not been done, this has been done right, this has not been right, these citations have been used correctly, these have been misunderstood. So you will have to raise some of the questions that can help the broader community, that can help them understanding many part of that domain. So your job is not going to stick to a point, you're going to touch various allied points too. There is a book that I'm recommending to you. This book is by Corcoran and Pillai 2008. It's a good book that you would like to read while while planning your paper. Though I'm going to share a lot of templates with you, but you may like to read that. Uh, when you look at the topic, your very few can we get that what should I review? Should I review it or not? One thing is that you need to look at the literature review paper available in that domain, that have they covered it or not. If they've covered it, what time frame they have covered it. If they covered it, what dimensions they have covered it. And do you think that is there anything that you can resolve, either in terms of the ambiguity there or in terms of the theory building there? So anything that you can cover. And do you think that literature have offered more theories, more dimensions? Can those be added? Can you alter them? How you are going to alter them? And then you need to bring in the methodological side, that whether this has been in this way, is there scholar in the field in that particular school that uh, any other method can be brought in. So you need to reconcile it, you need to bring research gaps. And the most important aspect is that basis on this discussion, you need to offer a worthy future research direction. If your literature review cannot give a worthy research direction, then it is as good as not doing it. So in one of the literature review that you write, it should have at least research directions that can direct you personally for next 5 years. So once if you have done a good literature review paper, your job for the next 5 years on solving on what you are going to work would be done. So do it with all your efforts. Here are certain methods. Methods like there are different ways of performing literature review. One of the very famous way is to perform the literature review based on a theory or domain. With there, you pick up a theory and you do literature review on that. Second is the systematic review. In systematic review, you place everything very transparent, and you say that what I am going to review, what I'm not going to review, why I'm going to review this, why I'm not going to review that. Third is the meta-analysis. In meta-analysis, you apply certain statistics. Basically, either you choose the empirical studies available in that domain and you analyze the statistics and analytical techniques again on that analysis. So meta-analysis, simply if I say, is an analysis of analysis which has been previously done by somebody else. You collect all those analyses and apply analysis again on it. There is also a simple meta-analysis. In the simple meta-analysis, you bring in certain baskets into domains, and then you try to review in terms of numbers, percentage, and contributions. Then there is a structured review. This is one of the very famous type of review. In this review, you either have a framework or you develop a structure through which you just review the literature available in that particular structure. These are also very transparent. These also include sometimes the prepositions, like when you offer a conceptual diagram in an empirical study, and you have hypothesis in the conceptual diagram that in the empirical study. Similarly, you also have a structure here, but here we do not call it hypothesis. Here we call it prepositions. So prepositions you develop along with those hypotheses. And then is the bibliometric review. The number of citations are growing up today, and you would like to offer the thematic analysis and domain to upcoming scholars, stating what is important, what is not important, so that important and non-important part are mostly being offered by the bibliometric review, because these reviews, they explore the studies that are capturing attention and citations in ongoing researches. So the research which are part of an ongoing debate are reflected into bibliometric review. I'm going to share each one of these with you. So uh, let's look at the domain and theory based review papers. Domain and theory based review papers basically synthesize the empirical findings and then they do theorization. I'm going to share the sample with you. Please do let me know and stop me if you're not able to see the PDF that I'm I'm sharing with you. I really hope that it is, because unless if nobody is speaking, I'll assume myself that it is visible. This literature review paper on RBT. RBT is a very famous theory given by Barney in 1991. Everybody knows that. So what has the scholars of this paper done? And I will straightly pull you to the structure. You can see that first they have introduced the research-based theory. And after introducing the different paradigms of research-based theory, there is different technology and resources that they brought in. Then they discussed that how this theory can be discussed in a different domain. RBT is a domain of strategy, basically, and that's a corporate strategy, if more minutely we see. But how this theory can be used in other domains, because nowadays
Excuse
a
me,
lot
sir.
of,
Sir, the
yeah.
PDF is not visible.
Oh, thank you so much for telling me this.
The participants are writing that in the chat.
I'm so sorry that I was having my attention to the screen and I did not notice that somebody is writing, because my mistake, my bad. Just give me a while. Let me fix it up. Okay, is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So I'll start it again and I'll tell you. So I was here. This this slide you was able to see, right? Just give me a thumbs up or maybe a
Yes, yes,
yes.
sir.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is, yeah, this is the PDF. Visible again?
Yes, sir.
Visible, not visible? Yeah, visible. So this is the kind of literature review that is based on theory. And this literature review talks about the resource-based theory in marketing. The specific purpose of this literature review was to see that how RBT can be used in marketing domain. So if you see that how this particular literature review paper has been planned, they normally started with the introduction, then they discussed about RBT, then they discussed about that how RBT is going to be in marketing. So what they have done, they have planned, organized it in such a way that how the linkage of RBT can took into the marketing domain. And what interesting part in the crux of the paper is that they are looking at the various perspectives. That RBT perspective, what talks about RBT applied to marketing domain, what will happen if, and what the literature think if RBT is collaborated with marketing domain and various domains like international marketing, the digital marketing, the social marketing that they touched upon. And they have given various literature, because now RBT is also being looked into the lenses through dynamic capabilities and also market orientation. So whatever innovation or dynamic capabilities or market innovation or international marketing you look into, that that the author is synthesizing. So it is not containing the literature that who said what. That is not done. It is that if somebody is saying this, then what is the meaning? And what will happen if we take it like this? If we agree with whatever has been said, then what will happen? If we do not agree, then what will happen? So the second is market-based resources. The second perspective that they took. One is the pure um, RBT angle in marketing, and second is the altered angle. in marketing. And then they have discussed about marketing, available marketing resources, market-based resources and all. So this is how the paper has been organized. The different perspective has been taken of the theory. So you may like to take something that why this theory is applicable in this field or not, then how other theories are going to help, can it be applied, can it not be applied, what will happen if this can be applied. So you have to have a pure critical perspective. There are various theory. For example, there's a SOAR model. How SCORE model is going to help in digitalization, leadership and sales professionals. Are sales professional? What kind of leadership they are? Do they actually need any leadership styles or not? Leadership styles and teachers. I'm sure that everybody talks about it, but this area has not been explored much. That what leadership theory can be applicable to specifically business professors. So you need to look into such kind of theories and their combination to any of the domain, other domains. The second is a systematic literature review. As I said, that systematic literature review, they synthesize a particular question. And what they do is they look at various aspects, like they look at the text mining, then they look at the citations, co-citation analysis, then they look at many things. Because here what you are doing is, your job as a scholar is to systematically organize and study the literature. Here you are not playing the role like a critical thinker that was done by the previous author. Here you're playing a role of a system manager, that okay, these are the 10 papers, this is how systematically these can be organized. So here your job is to make the literature simple, in organized in such a way that it can be simply understood by the domain scholars. And what you talk more on is the topic formulations, to study design, to sample what you are taking to review, then what you have collected to review, how you're analyzing that, and how you are reporting that. So organization of the paper is very important in these kind of literature reviews. And this is the sample that uh, see, this literature review is very different to one that you have earlier seen. Here, if you'll see, the author begin with some of the points that if I have taken this, these are the points that you need to take care of. And author do not want reader to go beyond the boundaries that he has developed or she has developed, because a system comes always with the boundaries. So once anything is beyond boundary, can challenge the system itself. So systematic literature reviews are very sensitive. They need to be taken care uh, in very sophisticated manner, because this method is itself very sophisticated. So I'll straightly pull you to the method. Now what author have done, author have developed this framework, and author will discuss the framework one after one after one. If you see, like okay, I'm a scholar of marketing. Excuse me, sorry. And I'm working on certain domains which is blend of strategy and marketing. So my understanding is only with those paper. Pardon me if they do not match very closely to your domain, but I'm sure that method will help you out. So one side they have taken the dynamic capabilities, and other side they have taken the operational capabilities. So what they're trying to establish, they're trying to prove the relationship between dynamic capabilities and the operational capabilities. And their argument in the paper is that when these are combined, the outcome will come either in innovation, and innovation will lead directly to the benefit, or because my operational capabilities are enhanced, so will also give me the benefits. So when and what author is doing, author is systematically organizing the literature with these arguments, like value framing to systemized learning, externally integrative to internal integrative, and relationship and association amongst all these dimensions. So if you see, look at the method. The first thing that the authors have done, they're classifying everything. They're saying that what sustainability mean to us. What are the kind of keywords that we are setting for sustainability? What innovation mean to us? What are the kind of keywords that we have included in uh, innovation, stakeholder engagement? They're clarifying what do it means to them. How did they search the literature? Then they searched it through ABSCO, ABI. ABSCO and ABI are the two largest digital libraries of the world. So mostly people choose ABSCO, ABI, and people also go through publishers, like they choose to search through Taylor and Francis, Sage, Emerald, Elsevier, Springer, InterScience, IGI. So this is also alternative, but these libraries also cover a lot of data, a lot of journals. Then second is screening. That how did they screen? They have downloaded, but how did they screen? And if you see, they have clarified that what have they included, what they have not included, what they have excluded from the review. So they're clarifying. So then the journals that they have reviewed, types. So when they're then giving the results after having this method, then they are talking about that how the framework is making sense. And then maybe I'll share this paper with you, then you can read it on your own. That they're trying to review and relate the relationship amongst dimensions that they have shown in the figure. For example, it is review findings relating to external integrative capability. So they are showing the literature related to it. And similarly, then they have shown to the another one, review findings related to external integrative capability. So and whatever one by one. Okay. Then let's come to meta-analysis. As I said, that meta-analysis is an analysis of analysis. And what happened when it comes to simple meta-analysis? In simple meta-analysis, the ontology, the root of the domain does matter. And the second, what matters is that how do you look at it? How do you bring the theory? How do you theorize and conceptualize the domain through that literature? This is my own paper that I'm going to share. Not because I want to show my paper. It is because it's very easy to understand. So this is one paper that has changed my perspective into research. This paper I have performed during my PhD, though it is not published in such a high class journal where I could publish afterwards. But this paper has actually given me a lot of learnings through which I made a lot of progress based on it. I had a lot of I had more than 1,500 papers that I had to review. So simply reviewing it through systematic analysis or just doing it a structured review was not possible. So what I opted is I opted for a mix, which is some simple percentage methods to some calculations to conceptualization. So how did simple meta-analysis begin is that you should first know the domain, that how domain has progressed. If you will see in the paper here, after the introduction, we begin with conceptual domain of international marketing. This literature review is about international marketing. And we try to understand that into certain decades because international marketing was somewhere started formally in academics in 1935. So starting from 1935 to 2010, when I started writing this paper, was huge literature, and I had to then see that how the literature has built over the period of time. So first we did the conceptualization and the knowledge development that happened in the field, and various decades we have developed, like 1960 to 70, 70 to 80, after 80, what happened. So this is how the literature looked like, and literature is speaking. Then this is the method of review. That why did I plan for review? This is planning. That why do I think that this review should happen? And after that, it comes that how did I identify dimensions, that what I have considered, what I have not considered. Then what is the time frame that we picked up? Then what is the domain focus? How authors and articles will look like? What are the publication outlets that we have considered? And then we have explored certain configuration contents, and from those configuration contents we have tried to establish the conceptualization, the dimensions, and ultimately then what I could do, and what the contribution of the paper was this. In the contribution, the entire conceptual domain was discussed into two, rational and sectional, and then different domain for research, different areas of research, or say research streams. So this was the contribution. So somebody who is interested in doing research in international marketing can take a look at this paper and can understand that okay, international marketing consists these 7 pillars, and she will have to pick up one to do research. So these kind of papers simplify the domain. They present the literature in such a way that it becomes simple for other upcoming scholars to understand. And we also have mapped the progress, that one can understand that where less research has been done, so can choose to do that research area, or where more research has been done can choose to opt for that area. So these kind of papers give autonomy to domain scholars. This is structured based review. Structured based review are also very important, and in fact I'm going to share one of the paper here, which is of another Indian scholar of ours, Justin Paul. This is uh, one paper belonging to my domain, because this is on international franchising. It's one of the area of international marketing or emerging markets where I work on. So I find this paper interesting to read, and therefore uh, you may like to learn something from this paper. This is little different from the earlier paper that I have shared with you. The earlier paper that I have shared with you was pure relationship amongst the variables, but here it's a mix. Here, first a structure has been established, that this is how the flow going to look like. Done. This is the similar than what I have previously shown, but here is the review structure. It answer to certain questions, and these questions are what, why, how. So like I have written that this answers to what, where, why, how. So author have started making review about what. Do you know about international franchising? So somebody who is yet to read can also read international franchising. Mind that I told you that literature review papers are specific to the domain scholars. Somebody who has not yet studied that domain can also pick up a literature review paper and start knowing that domain, and maybe can have interest to work further deep into those. I met a wonderful scholar who was PhD in mathematics, and she teaches international business. And I asked her, she's a very famous scholar. Her name is Elizabeth Rose. She teaches at the University of Leeds. We met in one of the AIB conference, and I asked that, Beth, You are a science grad, and not only grad, you earn all your research degree in mathematics.
Yeah.
Yes, I said, and you're teaching international business at such a wonderful university. See, she told me that how did she learn through
तो मैं आज
conceptual and literature review papers.
ये वरना आपसे सुनना बहुत आसान है.
All okay? I think all okay. Yeah.
So there, sir,
So
excuse me, sir. So there seems to
yeah.
be some problem in the voice from your end. Can you be just little louder? I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I think some participants are not able to.
Oh yes.
So there's a lot of messages
Oh.
in the chat.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Please,
Am I audible now?
yeah, I think it's much better now, sir. Thank you.
Much better now. Oh, thank you so much, audience, and I'm apologetic for the inconvenience. Okay, so I met Elizabeth Rose. I was telling the story that how uh, people from other domain they learn through literature review papers. This is the paper on international franchising that is answering on what, why, how kind of stuff. So everywhere you will have to clarify. The second is why. Okay, so you will have to make a proper structure, and you will have to answer these kind of questions by answering specifically the four things: what you're working on, what this domain called as. For example, you work on digital marketing, so what is digital marketing for a layman? What is digital marketing for an expert? Or if you're working for mentoring, what is mentoring for a layman? And what is mentoring for students? What is mentoring for business schools? What is mentoring for a teacher? Because a word or a domain have various perspective. Then where are you choosing it? Where are you reading it from? Why are you reading it? And why somebody, various stakeholders, we end of the day, sorry, end of the manuscript, we clarify that either it is a practitioner or a scholar who should read your manuscript, but why it is important you clarify there, and why this way. So the relationship you clarify there, why it is important you clarify there, and how you answer that. So these are the four questions that you answer in your structured literature review. Next is the bibliometric review. This is again the paper that I'm going to share with you is from another Indian friend, Umesh Bamel. So what he did, what these scholars have done, they have performed a bibliometric. Bibliometric review basically a software, and you should have an access to either Web of Sciences or Scopus database before you do bibliometric analysis. This is the method given here, that what did they work and how did they choose and how did they build the network of the citations and how the themes from the citations are developed, what are the key terms being used, how data refinement is being done. So these everything are, these are the things part of the method, and you cannot escape while you're writing literature review papers. You cannot escape these methods. These are very important. And once you discuss these research methods, then only you come to analysis. So I'm sure that one thing that I was trying to advocate through this presentation was that you need to develop a method to write literature review paper, and there are various methods that you can opt for. Lastly, I'm going to share one paper with you. uh, yeah, here it is. This is again my own paper, and this is not yet finally published, but this is at very advanced stage with Academy of Marketing Science review. That's also one of the dream journal that I'm aiming for. And if you'll see that how methods look like into this paper. Yeah, here it is. See, this is how the review design and structure have been maintained. First, we took the selection of publication outlets. That what are the publication outlets that we have selected? We have selected because ABS and ABDC are the two famous indexings all across the globe. So we choose over to have ABS and ABDC list of the journals. Reason being that they contain multiple journals, and these journals are overlap also in both the lists. But if I look at the bigger list, ABDC, that contains 2,682 research journals across all the categories. And then we focus on the domain because it's a mix. We are talking about subject of a psychology in marketing. So we are trying to classify nostalgia in marketing. So it's a mixed review. It's not pure structured, it's not pure systematic, it's not pure theory, but it's a mix. Uh, because I have written a couple of review, I can afford now to try test the mixed review. If you are writing it for the first time or the second time, I would strongly suggest you not to take the mixed reviews. You should try only one method. Then specific keywords we chose, then business actors and functions where it is being applicable, and the classifications. So then we tried to classify the nostalgia and certain stages we discussed. If you look at the figure that we have developed, you'll be able to understand it, that how we are trying to theorize the entire psychological domain in our perspective. So this is what we have done. And this is going to be the contribution. And what we are going to offer is we are going to offer a very big research scope to the paper. So if you see the influential research and knowledge development in nostalgia, it's something that we discuss at the end, and then future directions for the research is going to be very huge. See, we are going to tell very specifically that what should be there. Like we are telling that need of scales is there. So there should be more scales. Consumer behavior research is where this can help out. Research in marketing with advertisement, branding, promotion literature is something that it can help out. New generations are coming is where their psychology is entirely different to us. We are not technology natives, but we are technology migrants. We are migrating ourselves to the new system that we are seeing today. But think about a child or infant who is 5 years, 10 years old, and learning these technologies. He's technology native, so obviously his behavior is going to be different than what our behavior is. His emotions, his memories are going to be entirely different to what is ours today. So scope with that. And I mean, what I'm trying to advocate is that these kind of papers should have very clear spelled out future scope of research, and that is very, very important. Your paper is going to publish not on the basis what has been done. Your literature review papers are going to be published what can be done. So if your review can offer the answer to what can be done, then the chances of getting your literature review published in a very popular journal will be strong, will be very high. So always try to look at the literature available to answer the question what can be done. Your job is not to contain and not to organize what has already been done. My best wishes. If you have any specific question, we'll be very happy to answer. Thank you so much once again to the organizing committee for having me here and sharing my views and experience with such lovely audience. Very happy, very pleased, privileged, humble to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was indeed an exemplary session. I would now request Dr. Amitkumar Singh to share the words of wisdom with the audience. Dr. Amitkumar Singh,
Am I
sir.
audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Thank you. Before going to start my presentation, I would like to thanks to Shri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce, especially Dr. Jitinder Bir Singh Ji, Principal of the college, Dr. Gurvinder Kaur, TIC of Department of Commerce, and other faculty members for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share a space with you all. The topic which I am going to speak is publication of research papers. And my co-speaker, Dr. Sudhir Rana ji, has already covered a lot of things on literature review papers and conceptual papers. Generally, we have a myth that whether it is right to, whether it is easy to write empirical papers or conceptual papers or review papers. And most of the time, generally, research scholars or research students used to say that, sir, it is easy to write research review papers or conceptual papers. But I think, according to me, and being in research from the last 10, 15 years, I can say that it is easy to write empirical papers rather than conceptual or review papers, or sometimes commentary also. So generally, we have a notion that easy we can take some matters from here and take some matter from there, and we write a literature review papers and it's okay. No, if you really want to write a good research paper, review paper or literature review paper, definitely you have good experience of research and good experience of research in your own domain. So I start with that thing only because I to cover in 30, 35 minutes. So I will take only some important issues today in this webinar. So the first thing always comes in mind, what is research? So research is one of those words that you are likely to come across on almost daily basis nowadays. And every time I can say that research is not means that you don't know, but you're feeling to find out. Research basically means you don't know. Sometimes a lot of things are there when you start doing research. You don't know in the initial stage, you don't know what you have to achieve. Suppose if I say that whether the Sensex will touch 50,000 first, being in finance, that is why I'm taking the example of finance area. So whether the Sensex will touch 50,000 first, or it will touch 40,000 first or 30,000 first, nobody knows. But that is research. When we do research by taking some variables in the form of Sensex, Nifty, or when we talk about mutual funds or FIs or FDIs, it is all research. Because why I'm doing research? I want to know that if I know that if Sensex is going to touch 50,000 after 6 months, so I can purchase the share right now and I will keep it with me and I will sell it after 6 months. So this is research. Some people who are in stock market, some people who are in doing research in stock market, and definitely those who are not doing stock market also, still they want to know that, sir, which sector will emerge after COVID-19. In fact, during this COVID-19, two sectors are emerged: education sectors and healthcare sectors. So people are waiting that, sir, if I want to purchase any stock or if I want to invest my money in mutual funds or any other sector, so which sector will emerge? That is research. People are doing research. They are writing research papers according to their own wisdom, according to their own knowledge, that which sector will emerge after 6 months or 9 months. This is all research. If I take the big example, nowadays, so many countries in the world are trying to find out the vaccine for their respective country, how they can overcome a COVID-19 pandemic. So this is all research are going on, and this is the meaning of search, search, and search. This is the meaning of research. When you search something, you want to find out something. The next question comes, sir, why publication is important? See, publication is important for many reasons, but I think the first thing always important in publication is ideas. Generally nowadays, people don't write research paper on their own ideas, which they comes in their mind. And sometimes we never use our mind also. Whatever the research has been given to us, we do research in compulsion. Sometimes when we're in post-graduation level, whatever the project has been assigned to us by the teacher, we do research on that area. When we are in MPhil and PhD, if we got accounting area or any other area, we do research on compulsion. We never do research on that area which we like. We do research in compulsion. That is a problem, that we never able to understand the research fully. Another thing is research is passion. It's not that it's a time bound. It's not a bank which open at 9 o'clock and close at 5 o'clock. It's a continuous process. I agree with you that many times when we in teaching and some area other things, when we finish our MPhil and PhD, after that we don't have a time to do research. I agree with you. Many times it happens with everybody, even with me also, and everybody generally not able to involve themselves in research once we completed our PhD and MPhil. So that is why I always say that the right time and the right age of doing research is that time when you are doing research in the form of MPhil and PhD. But at that time only you are able to produce a good research papers, because at that time you are doing research, you are connected with the research, you are coming out with some idea. So I always say that whatever the research you do in MPhil and PhD, you try to do to your best level. If you are able to produce 2 or 3 research good papers from MPhil and PhD, your PhD or MPhil is successful. Another aspect is sometimes I came across that people don't want to read our own research papers. So I said, why you don't read your own research paper? Because sir, we do this research at the time when we don't know the research. We do research in compulsion because we want points to get eligible for the teaching and here and there. So we don't know much research, but on compulsion we write research papers with our friends and like this. So that is stage comes in everybody's life, and I am saying again. So research generally do only when you are doing research in the form of MPhil and PhD. Last thing is do research in the area of your domain that you have to select, whether it is finance or marketing or human resource management or IT or corporate governance, any area I'm saying, whichever area you like, you can go through. But it's up to you that in which area you want to do the research. So you have to select the domain. Whether you want to do in finance, then finance has a lot of areas. You have variable finance, you have financial integration, you have stock market, you have IPO market, you have capital market. In marketing, you have ethical marketing, you have green marketing. In HRM also, you have a lot of areas in it. And nowadays, you have artificial intelligence also. So this is, you have to decide in which area you have to do the research. Now it's research industry. I'm coming to this journals, that how many journals, top journals are in the world nowadays. One is Sage. Everybody heard about these journals which I have listed here. Sage cover around 1600 plus journals. Then we have Springer, Taylor Francis, Emerald, Elsevier, John Valley and Sons. These journals cover around 1600, 3000 journals plus by Springer, Taylor Francis, Emerald. So these are the 5-6 top journals I'm saying. I'm not saying other journals are not useful, but these are the top 6 journals where everybody would like to publish his or her research papers. I talk about one of the publishing house, that is Elsevier house, that it's covered around 7,000 editors. They have around 70,000 editor board members, 30 million researchers, 180 plus countries. They have a accessibility 480 million plus downloads, and they also producing around 450,000 new articles produced each year. They have a 185 years of back issues. Their rejection rate is 40 to 90% of their articles generally they rejected. 2,000 journals. Again, they have prepared themselves in 6 lakh authors they have. So this is whole gamut of publishing that Elsevier is one of the topmost journals in the world, I can say. So everybody would like to publish in these journals. Next is why publish. See, the benefits of publication is, one is exchange your ideas globally. Suppose if somebody's area is IPO study or foreign institutional investors or FDI or green marketing or corporate governance, any area. So if you keep on writing a research paper on that area, then people definitely came to know that yes, he or she is doing research in that area. Definitely I would like to read her research paper, his research papers, because he's a master in that area. He's keep on doing research in that area. So fun thing is that it's your ideas definitely become globally acknowledged all over the world. So keep on doing research in one of your respective areas. If you are doing in corporate governance, please be stick in corporate governance, says yes. But try to touch upon some new issues of corporate governance. Number two is network with community. People knows about you. That if you keep writing good research papers, then yes, people knows, yes, he or she is doing good research in that area. Definitely, please read her research papers. It will give you a good insight of that respective topic. Then third is require research funding. Many people are doing research for getting the project from the ICSSR, World Bank, UNCTAD, UC projects. There are so many other funding agencies which they provide you funding if you writing a good research papers. Then advancement in careers. People are doing research, publishing their research paper for their promotion in their respective jobs. And yes, it allows you to become an effective communicator also. If you keep on writing a good research papers, it's allow you to write a good, allows you to become an effective communicator. The next question is, what publishers looks for? See, from the publisher point of view, the first thing the publisher or the journal editor would like to see in the research paper is novelty or focus on content. The paper should be original one. It should be a pioneering research work, or novelty should be there. Like in capital markets or any area, if you are doing research on the same area, the research. Second is new framework, new policy, and new perspective. When you develop some new framework, everybody would like to see. Nowadays, I generally see that literature review. Then you can talk about the new framework and policy. You have 50 or 70 or 80 papers in your respective area. You're not in a position to give a good framework or new policy or new perspective. Then third is new evidence. Yes, if you come across some new theory, if you have come across with some new results, please mention it. Try to give some new tools. In today's scenario, I have seen that many people first select the test and then they select the objective, which is wrong. First they select that, no, I want to use R, I want to use Python, I want to use Smart PLS, I want to use eViews, and then I will talk about the objective. This is wrong. Please, first you select your objective, first you select your topic, first you select your hypothesis, and then you go for testing. Testing तो anybody can do. Testing is not a difficult thing. बहुत से लोग हैं जिन्हें टेस्टिंग तो आती है पर एनालिसिस करना नहीं आता है, वो पेपर नहीं अच्छा लिख पाते हैं, क्योंकि उनको टेस्टिंग का समझ है, रिजल्ट निकालना तो बड़ा आसान है, पर रिजल्ट को इंटरप्रेट करना आसान नहीं है, क्योंकि आपको ये मालूम ही नहीं है कि whether you are able to use that test properly, whether this objective take that test, क्या उस ऑब्जेक्टिव को वो टेस्ट जरूरी है भी या नहीं है, that is important. So I always say that first you make a framework, then you develop some objective hypothesis, and then you talk about the methodology. And then in methodology also, don't jump on R and Python and these tests. I always say that it's good that you should understand these softwares and languages, but I always say that be stick to your basics first, and then you talk about these R and all these things. Last is always, if you criticize any theory, if you have if you're given your own theory or good model, or if you have done some superior study, definitely then you talk about the theory which has been done in the past. You have to revisit that theory. You have to talk about that, yes, why your test is good, why theory X is not useful, why theory Y is not useful, that you have to mention it. Deciding a research topic. Don't do unnecessary and super follows research.
Excuse me, sir. Can I just disturb you for a minute?
Yes, yes.
Can you expand your PPT on the full screen?
Sure.
There are some participants who are not able to view your PPT.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and sorry to disturb you.
No, ma'am. Now it's okay. Now it's visible, ma'am.
I think
Hello.
I think it should be better. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Deciding a research topic. Don't do unnecessary and super follows research. Don't just work on something because you like the topic, and don't replicate existing theory. just because it is not done in your area. And always try to do seek some novelty. I'm already talk about in the last slide that publisher always want they focus on content, they focus on novelty. Other is anti-Aryan focus on reading literature, which already my co-author, co-speaker already talk about. So we'll not talk about that aspect. Then third is journals are profit. Yes, when if you talk about Xavier, if you talk about Taylor Francis or Routledge or any big journals, they are profit-making entities. They also want profit also. For their profit, they want to publish a good research. A research which is unique in the area, which covers some innovation, some innovative ideas. So because their customer are big corporate houses, so they don't want to publish irrelevant studies which are not useful. They don't want to publish those studies which they cannot sell. So definitely they want to build a reputation. So definitely they try to publish those research which they can sell or which maximum people can read. Last is your topic and work should be lived for years to come. Yes, you're not selecting topic only for one research article. And what I've said in the beginning, that if I'm doing a study in my IPO market from the last 10, 15 years, so I try to keep on coming out with new research on IPO market. I will try to come out with some new test on IPO market. I'm not tried that I keep on same study again and again. I don't want to replicate my study again and again in every paper. So same in corporate governance area, same in accounting area, same in finance area or marketing HR, whatever area you have. Try to focus upon some new research, new areas, which you can connect with your study. Suppose if you connect your corporate governance with artificial intelligence is good. If you connect your accounting with some IFRS or something new studies is good. So try to connect your studies. And seasoned researchers are known for their expertise. Yes, if you keep on writing a research in good area, definitely people admire you. And they publish again and again the same area and around same topic also. If somebody knows that, yes, you are doing research in this area, so definitely people say, yes, if it is a new area you talk about, if you have new content you talk about, so definitely we would like to publish your paper again and again. And I think in my area also, and in maybe in marketing HR, if you talk about Phyllis Kotler and Professor Jagdish Sheth, they keep on writing with their new areas in the area of marketing. In finance also, you have Jay Ritter and big people. They used to write in one area, but they talk about some new innovative topics in their main research, their broad research area. They keep on adding some new content in it. I think this is a steps to journal selection. Generally, when we talk about the journal selection, in what journal I want to publish our research papers, the first stage generally comes, it should be a respectable publisher. Suppose it may be a Springer, Xavier, Sage, and Emerald. But I always say that first you have to see that in which stage you belong to. If you are a new researcher, if you have started research only 1 year back or 6 months back, I think that if you're not doing MPhil or PhD or you're a new researcher, don't target straightway to these publishers. I always say that give some time to a research, let it mature. It will take 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years to mature research also, and to mature your research mind also. So no doubt, these are the good publishers. After this selecting these publishers, then you talk about the databases. You have Scopus, you have SSCI, you have Web of Sciences. But sometimes, like if I take Sage, says all journals are not included in Scopus. Some are in Scopus, some are not in Scopus. So it definitely, you have to check that whether Springer's generally Springer also, you will not find all the papers, all the journals Springer in Scopus or Web of Science or SSCI. You have to select in which journal, whether if it is Springer, so whether it is Springer, that journal comes in Scopus or not. That you have to check. After seeing this, then we talk about impact factor. Nowadays, everybody come out with impact factor. If it is a good journal, if it is bad journal, small journal, whatever the journal, they come out with a impact factor, write 4, 5, but that you have to check. Sometimes, impact factor also play a very vital role. So you have to decide that from where you have to target. Generally, there are certain journals like if I talk about the journal of Sage Vision. Vision has no impact factor. Vision has no impact factor. It is Scopus Index journal. It has no impact factor. That you have to decide that whether you want a Scopus Index journal which have an impact factor also or not. Again, there's a difference. That some journals have index in Scopus or Web Science, but they may not have an impact factor. And that you have to decide that whether you want to publish in high impact factor or low, but generally 4 or 5 in social science, generally you find a journal in 4 or 5 you have in social science journals. Next is you have grading of journals. That you have ABDC, Australian Business Dean Council, and Association of Business Studies. Then you have grading of journals, that whether you want to publish in ABDC journal or UKABS. And last is which stage you are in the research cycle, which I've talked in the beginning, that no point in targeting the point number 4 or point number 3 if you are new in the research area. If you are new in the research area, please first try to publish in some average journal, and then you move to this top journals. And definitely, if you target in the initial stage with these 4 journals, and if your paper got rejected again and again, definitely it will demotivate you to do the research. तो जनरली आई ऑलवेज सेज दैट कि आप हमेशा पहले ये देखिए कि आपकी स्टडी कहाँ बिलोंग करती है. हम पेपर जर्नल देख के समझ सकते हैं कि हमारी स्टडी किस एरिया में बिलोंग कर रही है. हम फर्स्ट से शुरू करें या सेकंड स्टेज से करें या थर्ड स्टेज से करें. तो प्लीज मैं बार बार कहता हूं कि ये नहीं कि अगर आपने एम्पेरिकल टेस्ट को यूज कर लिया है या आपने कोई थ्योरी डाली है तो आप सीधा यू कैन पब्लिश इन स्प्रिंगर और एल्सेवियर और एमरेल्ड. मैं हमेशा कहता हूं कि प्लीज टारगेट द जर्नल्स फॉर विच यू आर राइटिंग योर research papers. Yes, your writing must be interesting for the readers, I always say, and the author's aim should be to share knowledge and make a point and never to show off. Yes, your writing should be interesting. It should be for the readers, because you are writing, you are doing the work for the mass audience. So if they are not interested in your work, definitely it will not, the publisher will not going to publish your research work. Then author's aim also it should be to share knowledge. Whatever the expertise you have in your area, please try to share with the readers. Yes, here I always want to emphasize more on collaboration. Nowadays, collaboration or journal club is very, very important if you doing the research. I always says that have a group of 5 or 6 people. Generally in science, we generally see 10 or 15 people writing one paper. If you see Nature journal Nature in Science or any other top journals, you will find 8 or 10 names. Why? Because they have a big sample size and they generally write paper in collaboration because they have a lot of things to do in the research papers. So I always say that you also make a group of 2 or 3 or 4 people and make a journal club and write papers in collaboration. Definitely it enhance the finance area. So have some friends in finance area who deals in research in the area of finance, or somebody deals in the area of marketing. And if you want to do the interdisciplinary study, अगर आपके publication करना और publish करना ज़्यादा आसान है आपके लिए. If you write a research paper with target with some books like Routledge come out with call for papers for edited books, or Xavier or Taylor Francis or Sage, any, so please target that, because it is easy for you, because they have a specific topic. And if that topic matches with your research area, definitely you have good chance for acceptability of research. So you can see this aspect also. It's not necessary that you every time you target with the journals. You can target with some special issue in journals, a special issue in books also. It's up to you. So I always says that if you have a 3-4 people, and sometimes if the topic lies in your domain, not to the exact domain, so you can have a journal, you can collaboration with your friends, and then if your 2-3 friends are there, you can write that paper in a group also. I always say that presentation. Nowadays there is online presentations. But I always say presentation of paper is always important than publication. Definitely in the initial stage of your career of writing research papers. अगर आप initial stage में लिख रहे हैं, शुरुआत की है, तो हमेशा presentation से पहले शुरू करिए. Don't jump toward publication, because it exposes your paper to criticism before submitting. Present it at international level or national level, and whatever the comments and the critics which you receive from friends and or suggestions which you receive from friends and colleagues, that you can incorporate in your research paper. And after incorporate. And yes, sometimes people asking me this question, can we present one paper twice? You can present one paper thrice also, I'm saying, provided you will not publish that research papers. You can present this paper thrice also, I'm saying. 3 बार present कर लीजिए, आप कोई बात नहीं, publish नहीं होना चाहिए. Publish खाली एक बार होता है paper. So yes, whatever you present, you will get some constructive criticism also before you submitting your work to a journal. That also help you in making a substantial improvement that increases the chances of a publication. So I always says that please present your research paper first and then you go for publication. This is one of the thing I think many of you knows what is easy chair account, but those who don't know, I just want to say that nowadays in a publication of a research papers or presentation of research paper, you need to open a easy chair account. For easy chair account, see what easy version of the chair was implemented in 2002. It was used by 12 conferences in 2002-2004. Now, Easy Chair, you have to create account from Google. You go to Google and just put Easy Chair account. They will give you a link. In the create account, you have to write the username and password. After that, because many conferences, big conferences like World Finance, European Union Finance, or IGDR, or many central state industries, or IFT, or IEM, or IIT, they want that you submit your work through Easy Chair account. So submit your work through Easy Chair account is very, very easy, because it gives you helps. It gives you update also that whenever you publish, you send your paper in this conferences through Easy Chair account, it gives you a update whether your paper has been sent for review or not. So you can check whether your paper has been sent for revision or not, or if it has been reviewed, so what are your reviews. Everything they will mention through Easy Chair. So please always open your Easy Chair account. Then you have ABDC journals. I think many of you know, I've already covered what is ABDC, Australian Business Dean's Council. They have A star is a topmost, top quality most journals. Then you have A, then you have B, then you have C. And there are many journals which are ABDC, but they don't have listed in Scopus. And there are certain journals which are listed in Scopus also. So I always say that please target those journals which are in ABDC with listed with Scopus journals. That give you a good advantage. This is talks about that common grounds for rejection of your journal articles. Why your paper has been rejected? Poor quality research. That is the first thing. Many times when we send our literature or review papers or conceptual papers or empirical papers in good quality journals, even in the first stage, even in the text, the first stage is desk stage when the editor receives the paper. Many of the times, or many papers got rejected in the desk revision, basically that is called as. Number 2 is poor theoretical framework. If your paper don't contain any framework or theoretical framework, definitely it leads to rejection. Sometimes your journal is not matching with the aim of the journal. Article not matching with the journal aim. Suppose your work is on finance and you submit your research paper in the marketing journal or human resource journals or corporate governance or any other journal which not matching with your title or area. Journalistic, not a research approach. Yes, if you keep mentioning other works, it's not a research work. If you keep on writing in a journalistic way, definitely editor or any publisher house would not like to accept your paper. Then straight thesis chapter, sometimes we don't even change the numbers, chapter number when we send our research for publication. Please check if you're an MPhil and PhD work, please edit the work, and you always read manuscript submission. I always say that please read the manuscript submission of the respective journals. It differs from journal to journal. It differs from journal houses to journal houses, like publication. Suppose Xavier has different manuscript submissions and Sage has different manuscript submissions. Then serious language and grammar problems, please check whether they want UK English or US English. And then second last is unethical. Sometimes we are very, very unethical in giving our research work. You have to understand what is unethical and what is ethical. It also covers the plagiarism point, that please check your research work or your research paper before submitting to the journal. Please check through plagiarism software. And last is always check your paper words limit, whether it is 5,000 or 8,000. If they ask about 5,000, so please prepare a paper or manuscript account to 5,000. If they ask 8,000, so more or less 5,500 word less or more, it hardly matters. But yes, ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि आपको 8,000 मांग रहे हैं और आप 15,000 वर्ड का पेपर दे रहे हैं बिना कोई एडिट करके. तो प्लीज चेक कर लिया करिए कि कितनी वो लेंथ है, मतलब कि कितना पेपर लिमिट वो मांग रहे हैं, 5,000 मांग रहे हैं या 8,000 मांग रहे हैं. और ये भी देखिए क्या उनके कीवर्ड्स हैं, क्या वो उनके जेल कोड्स हैं, क्या वो आपसे authors agreement हैं. There are certain things which we have also please read before submitting your research paper to respective journals. Then we have gel codes. मैं खाली इसलिए बता रहा हूँ कि आजकल फाइनेंस के पेपर्स में या कोई भी एरिया में, अगर हम साइंस की बात ना करें, बट बाकी सोशल साइंस के जर्नल्स में जेल कोड्स बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है. जेल कोड्स जर्नल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक लिटरेचर, इसमें हमें जरूर देखना चाहिए और लिखना चाहिए कि हमारा एरिया कहाँ से बिलोंग कर रहा है. मैं आपको एक स्लाइड दिखाता हूँ जहाँ पे दिया हुआ है जेल कोड्स A, B, C, D, E, F. So those are from economics, definitely they understand what is gel code about. But general economics teaching, suppose it is A, suppose my area is finance. So generally, whenever I write whenever I write paper in the area of finance, I use G. So sometimes G12, G14. So you have to click this financial economics, and after clicking this, sub areas open, and then sub areas you have to choose that in which area your paper lies, in which domain your paper lies. Suppose if somebody has accounting area, so definitely they should use M. Business economics, marketing, accounting, personal economics comes in M. So you remember all these things, I think is good for you. A structural research papers is, suppose your research paper is 4,000 words. So your percentage of overall word count is like introduction 15%. It means 600 words you have to use in introduction part. Nowadays, people use literature and methodology as combined, in a combined manner. So around 50% of the research work, around 2,000 words, you have to, I am taking around 4,000 words as my base. So literature review and methodology के अंदर आप 50% कर सकते हैं. Then you have in result analysis के अंदर आप again 25%, and conclusion and recommendation generally covers 10%. But please, मैं फिर से कह रहा हूँ, मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट सबमिशन जो होता है उसको जरूर देखा करिए. हम उसको नहीं देखते हैं और हमारे 50% चांसेस पेपर रिजेक्शन के वहीं से शुरू होते हैं कि हमने मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट सबमिशन को नहीं देखा होता है. तो हम कंक्लूजन रिकमेंडेशन देखते ही नहीं है, कैसे लिखना है, कितने वर्ड्स में लिखना है, रिजल्ट एनालिसिस को कैसे प्रेजेंट करना है, डायग्राम को कैसे प्रेजेंट करना है, पाई चार्ट को कैसे प्रेजेंट करना है. दीज ऑल थिंग्स आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रिसर्च पेपर्स, एंड स्पेशली when you're targeting the top journals. Time allocation to research. Yes, if I take around 3 months, if I take 3 months as a, that I will cover one research paper in 3 months, then definitely you give 2 weeks for introduction. Generally, if we start a research paper with literature review and methodology part, so generally please give 3 weeks for literature review methodology. Then after that, you need some time to write result analysis. Also, it takes a lot of time. That gives some time to 4 weeks for result analysis. And lastly, then you talk about conclusion recommendation takes 1 week, and introduction also covered around 2 weeks. So in total, you have to give around 10 weeks if you write a good research papers, which you target for top journals. Next is ORCID. ORCID is a new word. I think many of you understand, and they have a ORCID account also, or ORCID number. And many of you knows also, if you don't have a ORCID number, then I think it is very, very difficult now that you can send your research paper to top journals, and they are not going to even accept your manuscript. I'm not saying that they will accept your research paper. I'm saying they will not accept only your manuscript also for review purposes also if you don't have a ORCID number. So please, those who are doing research, please open your ORCID number, ORCID account, because there's an ambiguity in the name. So my name is Dr. Amitkumar Singh. There are many Amitkumar Singh who are doing research in the area of IPO, market of finance. You're not able to find out that it is the same Amitkumar Singh who is doing research in ORCID, is in the area of IPO, or is the same Amitkumar Singh who is doing research in the area of capital market. So through ORCID, you can understand that it is his number. Yes, this is the same Amitkumar Singh who is doing research in the area of IPO. There are many times you can write your name like Dr. A.K. Singh, Dr. Amit Kumar, Dr. Amit K. Singh. So people used to confuse. So if you have an ORCID number, you can go to the Google, just write ORCID. They will open. This is a login ID. Give orchid.org/register. Go to this STB word. Just press it. Just put it on your Google, and you will start for registration of your ORCID ID. So after that, first you have to fill all this information: first name, last name, primary email, additional email. Then you go for adding your information. Again, whatever the work you have done in the past, whatever the where you have working right now, what is education. Then you have, suppose if you have done any project, just mention the project. Suppose you have done any work, you mention the work here. And after that, adding your work. Yes, here you cannot upload the work. I am saying you cannot upload the work. You just mention the work. आप अपने रिसर्च पेपर इसमें अपलोड नहीं कर सकते जिस तरह से हम रिसर्च गेट में करते हैं. रिसर्च गेट एक अलग चीज़ है, ऑर्किड अलग है. रिसर्च गेट में कोई नंबर नहीं चाहिए होता आपको. यहाँ देखिए मैंने लिखे हुए हैं रिसर्च ऑर्किड के नंबर, ये नेम है. अगर आपका ऑर्किड नंबर नहीं है तो मैं बार बार कह रहा हूँ, आपका अच्छे और टॉप जर्नल्स के अंदर पेपर आप सेंड भी नहीं कर सकते हैं. तो मेरी फर्स्ट यही रहेगा आज की, after this presentation, please, those who are doing research, please open their ORCID account. Now friends, next is Scopus. I think everybody knows what is Scopus. Scopus is one of the biggest and the largest database of social science, technology, medicine. It covers all the aspects. In social science, it covers more than 5,000 journals. I think we have other indexes also. When we confuse with Google Scholar or Allrich Cable, these index copy ICV, index completeness value, they all are social science citation index, SSCI. So they all are indexes. Generally, in the initial stage, you cannot target that I will publish only in Scopus. You start with some good indices like Allrich Cable, index completeness value, or some more. But in the later part, you can target Scopus. How to locate? This is, I just want to tell you that sometimes people are not able to find the research work. So you can locate your journals and research papers through this account ID. You can just put it the area. Suppose you are doing research in the area of accounting, you can just write subject area here. If you are doing marketing, you write marketing here. You will find research papers in your respective area. And if you want in marketing also, you want only green marketing research paper, you can write this thing also. So you will find only research paper in the area of green marketing only. Again, you can in Elsevier also you can find the research papers or locate the journals through writing the title of the research paper. Suppose if you want to do research in FDI or FI or financial integration, you just write the name of the paper. And if it is published in Elsevier, definitely will give you abstract and keywords, everything. Search for author profile. Yes, for authors, if you want to know that, if you want to know your own name, whether you have name is in the Scopus generalist also, you just write your author's last name, author first name, affiliation, ORCID number. See, they've also written ORCID number. So I've already said in the last PPT that ORCID is very, very important. Nowadays, you see in Scopus also, they want your ORCID ID. So just write ORCID number and you will find that how many papers you have written in the Scopus index journal. See, this is the database. First two database, the third is a publisher name. So Social Science Research Network is a topmost SSRN database. You will cover more than 3 lakh papers. Then you have JSTOR also. Generally, you can access from DUID only, the University ID. So in SSRN also, you can download or 1 or 2 papers in a day through at your home also. So just press SSRN site and you will download the research paper in your respective area. It will cover around 3 lakh papers in social science. And third is Indus Science Publisher is one of the good journals. You can also target Indus Science Publishers also. They have a good journals in IB also, in accounting also, in finance also, marketing also. So you can target these journals. This is generally time taken from publishing an article. This is the average time observed for publishing online after acceptance. I'm saying Elsevier takes 2 weeks, Springer takes 2 to 4 weeks, Violet takes 4 to 5 weeks, Emerald takes 4 to 8 weeks, and Indus Science takes 10 to 16 months even. because you can convert. It's not necessary that they are fixed timing, but yes, this is, I think, proportionately average time generally it takes after your acceptance and for online view of your paper, it takes around 2 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks uh, after your after you getting your acceptance letter. DOI is a Aadhaar number of papers. So I think everybody knows what is a DOI, Digital Object Identifier. It is also very important. Sometimes if you forget your research paper name, if you have DOI, just put it on your Google Chrome and you will find the research papers like this. If you have this number, if you forget the name of Deepak and Nikunj, you just put 10 this point, 10.170 DOI number in your Google and you will find the research paper. Another thing is, I think many of you knows what is impact factor. See, impact factor nowadays, people talk about a lot of impact factor. What is impact factor all about? So impact factor is, suppose if I want to know the impact factor of 8, so there's a division of A, which basically stand for the number of times article published in 2006 and 7, and कितने पेपर आपके पब्लिश हैं 2006 में और कितने वो cited हुए हैं 2 साल में पेपर छपे हैं cited हुए 2008 में, एंड नंबर ऑफ सेटेबल कितने पेपर, टोटल नंबर ऑफ पेपर्स. तो अगर आपने दो, कम से कम इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर निकालने के लिए किसी भी जर्नल का, उस जर्नल की लाइफ 3 साल होनी चाहिए, एटलीस्ट 2 साल तो होनी ही चाहिए, क्योंकि लास्ट 2 साल में पेपर पब्लिश हुए हैं 2006-7 में, टोटल नंबर ऑफ पेपर जितने पब्लिश हुए हैं उसमें कितने बार साइटेड हुए, इनको कितनी बार साइटेड किया गया है उनके उस पेपर्स को इन द डिफरेंट जर्नल्स और अदर जर्नल्स के अंदर. और उसके बाद नंबर ऑफ पेपर, सपोज 600 साइटेशन हैं 2 साल में उन पेपर्स की, और टोटल पेपर जो थे वो 300 थे, तो आपका जो इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर है वो 2 आ गया है. तो मतलब कि कम से कम आपके हर पेपर को 2 बार साइटेड किया हुआ है डिफरेंट जर्नल्स में ड्यूरिंग दिस 2 years. एच इंडेक्स अभी मैं आ रहा हूँ. एच इंडेक्स बेसिकली अगर मैं एजेंट फार्मा का मैं दिखा रहा हूँ आपको गूगल स्कॉलर अकाउंट. अगर आप, मैं सबको ऐसे कहता हूँ कि गूगल स्कॉलर अकाउंट जरूर खोलिए, ये आराम से आप गूगल की साइट पे जाएंगे, गूगल स्कॉलर पे जाएंगे, यू कैन ओपन योर अकाउंट. इट हेल्प्स यू टू स्टोर योर वर्क, help you to get your citations. Nowadays citations is very important. H index is also important in many interviews and in many times in promotion also. They generally ask you, sir, आपके काम का citations कितना है. So if I show the work of Engine Pharma, everybody knows who has given the efficient market theory. So citations, if we covered, it is around 2,99,544. So again, in from the since 2015, अगर last 5 साल का देखें तो करीब 1 लाख उनकी citations ही हैं, मतलब 2 लाख 3 लाख उनकी citations हो चुकी हैं उनके काम की. उसके बाद हम आते हैं H index में. अगर हम H index की बात करते हैं तो what is H index? See, अगर सबसे पहले suppose if you have written 9 papers, okay, right, or you have a citations, first you arrange your work in descending order. First you, वैसे वो अपने आप ही arrange हो जाता है, but arrange your work in descending order. Suppose your document 1 contains 55 citations, then you have H index is 1. Document 2 contain 45 citations, your H index is 2. Document 3 contain 20 citations, your H index is 3. Document 4 contain 10 citations, your H index is 4. Document 5 contain 5 citations, your H index is 5. Document 6 contain 4. No. See, जैसे आपका डॉक्यूमेंट ज्यादा हो जाएगा citation से, आपका H index वहीं रुक जाएगा. तो आपके जो बन दिया हुआ है
Your mic is muted.
I'm not muted. I think somebody else is muted. Am I audible?
You can start the screen sharing again. Yes, sir, you're audible, but you're, yeah.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Okay now?
Yes, sir.
Now is it visible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
it's visible.
Thank you. See, this is H index. So author B की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो author document 1, 25, second 20, third 9, 4, 6. Now its H index is 4. See. So author B has published 4 articles. Article 1, citation 25, 20. This the H index of B is 4. There are 4 papers with at least 4 citations each. H index means minimum citations आपके एक पेपर के 10 होने चाहिए. That comes under category of I10. 10 या 10 से ज्यादा होंगे तो आपको एक मिलेगा I10 इंडेक्स का. उसी तरह से I20 के citations जो 20 से ज्यादा होना चाहिए. 20 हो या 20 से ज्यादा हो. अगर मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ अभी ये देखिए इस केस में इसमें तो काफी ज्यादा इंडेक्स I10 इंडेक्स 204 मींस आपके जो पेपर्स हैं I10 मिनिमम 10 या 10 से ज्यादा जो 204 है 204 है. तो इट मींस दैट I10 हो गया 204. हो सकता है कि आपके इस केस में मैं अपना अगर दिखाता हूं तो मेरा केवल अभी एक ही है, सपोज ये पुराना है. तो दिस इज शॉर्ट एंड परफॉर्मेंस मेरा पेपर है वो I10 एक ही है. बाकी मेरे सारे पेपर्स में 755 आ रहा है. तो मेरा H इंडेक्स तो 4 है पर I10 इंडेक्स मेरा केवल 1 है. तो अगर मेरे पेपर को साइटेड अगर 10 से ज्यादा किया होगा एक पेपर को या 2 पेपर को तो मेरा I10 इंडेक्स जो है वो बढ़ता जाता है. तो बार बार ये चीज कहता हूँ कि प्लीज सेल्फ साइटेशंस भी अलाउड है, पर डेफिनेटली अगर आपका कोई फ्रेंड या कोई भी दोस्त आपका कोई पेपर लिख रहे हैं और आपके एरिया में लिख रहे हैं तो प्लीज अपने पेपर उनको भेजिए और बताइए कि हमारे भी पेपर को साइट किया जाए. तो साइटेशन डेफिनेटली हेल्प्स यू टू डेमोन्स्ट्रेट योर वर्क. दिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट बी कॉशियस ऑफ प्रीडेटरी जर्नल्स. यस, आज की डेट में काफ़ी जर्नल्स या पब्लिशर्स अपने प्रेस्टिजियस बनते हैं कि हम बहुत अच्छा पेपर छाप रहे हैं और हमारे ये डाटाबेसेस हैं, पर दे क्लेम फॉल्सली. आई थिंक दे क्लेम टू बी लिस्टेड डाटाबेस. अगर आपको जरूर चेक करना चाहिए कि वो डाटाबेस में है भी नहीं है. मैंने बताया कि मैं भी शो नहीं कर रहा कोई, पर आप देखेंगे काफ़ी बार इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर भी गलत दिखा देते हैं और 4-5 ले आते हैं जो प्राइवेट होते हैं, अपना खुद का आपका हाउस होता है, वो दिखाते हैं हमारा 10 है 12 है. प्लीज़ चेक करिए. लोग उनके इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर लिख भी देते हैं, वो गलत होता है. और ग्रेडिंग भी करते हैं कि हमारा ग्रेड हम ABDC में हैं या बी में थे या बी में थे या सी में थे. तो प्लीज़ इसको चेक करिए. ये बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ें हैं. प्रीडेटरी जर्नल से बचिए. और एक लिस्ट भी दी हुई है, अगर आप साइट पे जाएंगे तो उसमें लिखे हुए हैं कि कौन कौन से प्रीडेटरी जर्नल्स में आए हैं. So please check. It's better that you publish your research paper in UCK listed journals or other refereed or reviewed journals. But please check always see the list before submitting your research papers. This is a journals UCK list. ये मैंने अभी जो लेटेस्ट में से कुछ निकाले मैंने जर्नल्स आज के लिए कि जो लोग कुछ टारगेट कर रहे हैं. तो फाइनेंस में और मार्केटिंग के अंदर कुछ जर्नल्स मैंने दिए हैं. जैसे Indian Journal of Finance, I am the editorial board member of this journal, Indian Journal of Finance. It is a Scopus Index and C, ABDC listed. Then Prabandhan, it is again a Scopus and C. Ramanujan Journal of International Journal of Business and Research, Ramanujan College का journal है, ये भी UCK listed है. Indian Journal of Marketing is a Scopus Index journal. Then we have Pacific Business Review International, Accounting and Finance, Annals of Finance, Industrial Marketing Management, Journal of Business and Industrial Marketing. So these are the good journals you can target upon. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was really an insightful session. We would now proceed to our Q&A session, question answer session, and I would request the audience joined from both Zoom platform and from YouTube to please put their queries in the chat box. I would hand over the Q&A session to Dr. Japanjot and Ms. Chanpreet. Over to you.
Sudhir ji is there?
Hello.
हाँ जी.
Sir, he is still there.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Amit. प्रिंसिपल तो वैसे ही थोड़ा नॉन एकेडमिक हो जाता है,
नहीं सर, ऐसी बात ना करिए आप।
हमने left it long back, but there are new things that I was able to know. For example, this if you have a account in Google Scholar, then you can actually see your H index and
Yes, sir.
I index. Yeah, so these are new things that I am talking about. Because before I became principal, I was quite active in research, but after you become principal, then you don't get that much of time because research is something that you can do when your mind is at peace, and principal never gets a peaceful time.
You're managing both, I think, beautifully. Don't worry.
And thank you, Dr. Rano, also. And
Thank you,
his lecture was very, very useful and illuminating.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh. And I must congratulate you for your leadership on inculcating
Yes.
this interest amongst your faculty members and all other scholars. Also, giving this chance for both of us to share our experiences. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So thank you, Sudhir sir and Amit sir, for a very insightful session. So I have a list of questions that we have collected from the participants over the Zoom platform and all the participants who are there with us on YouTube as well. So the first set of questions that I have are addressed to Sudhir sir. So, sir, I think the concept of meta-analysis really intrigued a large part of our audience. So we have a few questions from that part. So the first question that we have is, how do we differentiate between meta-analysis and a systematic review? So, sir, please.
Okay, meta-analysis is analysis of analysis. So you should have collected findings from the previous studies and then perform another analysis on it. Is the meta-analysis. You can also do a simple meta-analysis where you record the numbers. Maybe this can be frequency, these can be percentages. However, systematic analysis is an organization of literature. It has nothing to do with the numbers, percentage, or further analysis, but this is how you look at the literature systematically. So this is the technical difference.
Okay, sir. Okay. So the next question that we have is, can we include working papers in meta-analysis, like from IMF and World Bank?
It depends on what criteria you pick up. Okay, so generally, and it is a question of debate, that whatever you include to analyze or review should have a scientific weight. So I do not advise you to include working papers into it. I also do not advise you to include books into it. If you're reviewing books or working papers, please perform another review, that okay, this is how you, domain can be advanced. So please refrain having books and working papers. You only include scientific research publications while review. You need to develop a criteria that what you're going to review, and this criteria would be that I'm going to review only the research papers that are being published above B or above Scopus Q2 or above ABS 2. So you need to keep a minimum benchmark, that this is the minimum benchmark and this is how the boundary of my review is going to look like.
So that means like the first part that you told, the inclusion and the exclusion part.
Yeah,
So,
inclusion and exclusion part, absolutely.
okay, so the last question that we have is, what should be the appropriate number of papers that we should include for a literature review paper, and how do we decide onto the relevant ones as well?
Yeah, I think these both questions are interrelated with each other. When you will have boundary, then everything that falls in boundary that you're going to count. So number, we cannot say any domain may have thousands of paper in that particular boundary. Then you'll have to bring more um, benchmark systems to reduce the numbers. And if numbers are less, then you be liberal with multiple boundaries that you develop. So this is one. You keep the toughest criteria when number is high, and you liberalize the area boundary of inclusion when numbers are low. So that is one. So we cannot say how much is appropriate. Anything that is falling in that particular method is necessary to be reviewed. One. Second is second question was, I'm sorry, I slipped from my
So
mind.
how do we decide on the relevant ones? If we get
Yeah,
like
relevant one. Anything that falls in that is relevant one. Anything beyond that is irrelevant for you. So that is simple.
okay, so
I want to add one thing here, that if you really want to do a literature review, I always say that nowadays people can do literature review through Excel sheet also.
okay,
Excel sheet. One should make definitely basically it depends that in which stage you are in research. If you have done PhD, if you have done MPhil, and you have matured, you're from the last 5-6 years doing this, already done from the last 10-15 years doing research, okay. But if you're new in the research, so definitely you're supposed to do some extensive literature review in the form of Excel sheet, because you're new, you're not knowing the variables, you're not knowing the literature or the conceptual part in a clear manner. So I always say that in the initial stage, one should do the literature review part through Excel sheet. And through Excel sheet, they should make objective, hypothesis, research gap, variables, methodology, and conclusion, and all these things definitely will give you a clear picture. Yeah.
okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh, for adding this. And let me compliment. So somebody who have prepared Excel sheet, necessarily when you were trying to do the thematic domain and establishing theories, you may like to use softwares nowadays. Like Leximancer is one where you can upload your data Excel sheet and do the theorization part. Web of Science is also that you can use WOS analysis, through which you can analyze. Once when you have that Excel sheet prepared, you can look into the coding, and coding is then be easy there. So there are methods of managing bulk of literature.
Okay. Thank
I
you so
got up
much.
one question from Dr. Sutwinder Kaur, ma'am. Can I answer that
Yes,
question?
of course,
In
sir.
chat box?
Please go ahead.
Madam is asking about the changing of UC listed journals, how we deal with the situation. See, if you have published one research paper in UC के listed journals और आज वो UC के list में है और हो सकता है कि 6 महीने बाद ना हो, तो उसके लिए बेस्ट ये होता है कि आप जैसे आपका पेपर छपता है, तो जो UC केयर है उसका एक स्नैपशॉट जरूर लीजिए, अपने पास रखिए कि वो उस टाइम UC केयर लिस्टेड में था, और जो जर्नल आपका जो जिस जर्नल छपा है उसमें भी लिखा होता है, तो वो भी आपको रखना चाहिए अपने पास। ऐसा नहीं है कि अगर आज की डेट में वो है और अगर आपका 6 महीने बाद नहीं है तो वो माना नहीं जाएगा, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। यू हैव टू जस्ट शो दीज थिंग्स इन एट द टाइम ऑफ योर इंटरव्यू और प्रमोशन इंटरव्यू, जहाँ भी दिखा रहे हैं उनको मालूम होता है कि हो सकता है काफ़ी जर्नल्स हैं जो ABDC में आज से और पहले नहीं थे और आज पहले थे और आज नहीं है, तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि इसकी कोई वेटेज नहीं मिलेगी। एट दैट टाइम जब आपका पब्लिश हुआ है उस टाइम अगर वो ABDC में है तो माना जाएगा, अगर वो स्कोपस में है तो माना जाएगा, वो बाद में नहीं है उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है। पर हाँ, आपके पास रिकॉर्ड जरूर होना चाहिए, उसकी एक स्नैप ले लीजिए या एक उसका फोटो भी रखिए अपने पास संभाल के, क्योंकि उस टाइम था, उस पर नहीं था। और आजकल ये भी है कि केवल UC के लिस्टेड ही नहीं है जरूरी, अगर आप पीयर रिव्यूड भी छाप रहे हैं, रेफ्यूड भी छाप रहे हैं, रेफ्यूड भी सॉरी छाप रहे हैं, तो उसकी भी वेटेज है। क्योंकि अगर आप फॉर्म देखते हैं आजकल, उस पर लिखा होता है कि UC केयर ऑब्लिक लिखा होता है पीयर रिव्यूड, या लिखा होता है रिव्यूड जर्नल्स। तो हाँ, पीयर जर्नल्स अच्छा होना चाहिए, मैं फिर बार बार कह रहा हूँ, प्रिडेटरी जर्नल नहीं होना चाहिए। हम बड़े बड़े जर्नल्स जो फॉरेन के होते हैं वो प्रिडेटरी में होते हैं, या कुछ लोकल जर्नल्स हैं प्रिडेटरी जर्नल्स, हम उसकी तरफ भागते हैं। तो प्लीज जर्नल्स जब आप जैसे जितना टाइम आप पेपर में लिखा रहे हैं लिखने में 2-3 महीने, उतना ही टाइम आप जर्नल को सर्च करने में भी लगाइए, 10-15 दिन भी, 10 दिन भी लगाते हैं तो इट्स एनफ कि बढ़िया है आपके लिए, उससे आपको फायदा ही होगा। या थैंक यू।
Amit sir, I have 2 more questions
Yeah.
from the audience. So,
Yeah.
so the first one is, how can we avoid plagiarism in literature review? Because since we're using so many authors and so many works cited by them.
देखिए, आजकल ये है कि डिपेंड ये कर रहा है कि रिसर्च पेपर की आप बात कर रहे हैं, तो मैं बार बार ये चीज़ कह रहा हूँ कि पहले आप एक्सेल शीट में बनाइए उसको। एक्सेल शीट में क्या होता है कि डिस्क्रिप्टिव नहीं आ रहा है, एक्सेल शीट में जब आप बनाएंगे तो आपको जो वेरिएबल्स मेंशन कर रहे हैं या मेथोडोलॉजी मेंशन कर रहे हैं, रिसर्च गैप कर रहे हैं, तो एक शीट बना रहे हैं, और आजकल काफ़ी जर्नल्स उसको एक्सेप्ट भी कर रहे हैं। तो प्लेगरिज्म पार्ट काफ़ी टॉप जर्नल्स हैं, वो आप बात कर सकते हैं कि सर कैन वी सेंड अवर लिटरेचर इन एक्सेल शीट। अगर एक्सेल शीट में जा रहा है तो ऑब्वियस आपका लिटरेचर वो कम आएगा एज कम्पेयर टू दैट। दूसरी चीज़ ये है कि आजकल काफ़ी सॉफ्टवेयर्स हैं, कुछ पेड हैं, कुछ अनपेड हैं। मैं यहाँ पे जरूर कहूँगा कि प्लेगरिज्म के पार्ट में आपको आई ऑथेंटिकेट या टर्निटिन या उडकुंड जैसे ही ऐसे ही यूज़ करने चाहिए अगर आप पीएचडी और एमफिल कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि अगर आप कोई ये ओपन सॉफ्टवेयर यूज़ करते हैं प्लेगरिज्म के लिए, तो काफ़ी बार आपका जो डाटाबेस होता है वहाँ पे वो रिपोजिटरी में चला जाता है। तो जो आप दोबारा चेक करते हैं अपने पीएचडी के टाइम पे या एमफिल के टाइम पे फाइनल करते हैं तो वो सेम आता है। तो लोग कहते हैं सर हमने तो हटा दिया था, पर वो हटा नहीं होता है, तो वो एज इट इज पूरा काम आपका सेम आता है। तो मैं बार बार ये कहता हूँ कि हमेशा अगर आप फाइनल स्टेज में पीएचडी के एमफिल में है तो रिस्क मत लीजिए अपने काम पे। और आजकल तो अभी जो नई गाइडलाइन आई है उसी की, उसमें सेल्फ प्लेगरिज्म भी आ गया है कि अगर आपने अपना ही काम दोबारा भी कर रहे हैं तो वो भी आपको पैराफ्रेजिंग या उसके सॉफ्टवेयर के थ्रू चेंज करना चाहिए। और आजकल काफ़ी लोग मेंडेले और एनवीवो की टेक्निक से और काफ़ी नए सॉफ्टवेयर के टेक्निक से अपने लिटरेचर रिव्यू, मैं यही कह रहा हूँ बात कि आप इससे अच्छा जो टूल्स हम सीखते हैं इससे अच्छा अगर हम लिटरेचर रिव्यू के टूल्स सीखें कि हम अपने लिटरेचर रिव्यू को कैसे बेटर कर सकते हैं और इजी लैंग्वेज दे सकते हैं और वो कॉपीड ना हो, तो उसके लिए जो सॉफ्टवेयर है ना उसमें जरूर हमें सीखना चाहिए और समझना चाहिए। थैंक यू।
Okay. So the last question that I have is, like, you encouraged everybody to conduct new research. So sir,
Yeah.
how can we validate new research or exploratory research? If you could just shed some light on that as well.
See here, I always say that first you find out your domain. Suppose if you have finance, right? I take the example of finance. In finance, if you doing research in the area of stock market or financial market or capital market, sometimes people used to come to me and ask me, sir, हम किस में रिसर्च करें? तो मैं कहता हूँ पहले आप पेपर पढ़िए। हम लोग क्या करते हैं, रीड नहीं कर रहे आजकल। मेरे ख्याल से कम माना मैंने कि कभी अगर जो बिल्कुल नई स्टेज में बच्चा है, अभी केवल एमकॉम करके आ रहा है या एमफिल करके आ रहा है, या एमफिल भी नहीं किया, एमकॉम ही किया हुआ है और एमकॉम के बाद गैप आ गया और नहीं पढ़ा हुआ, तो उसके लिए ईयू समझना या फिर एसपीएसएस समझना या सेम समझना या मॉस समझना मुश्किल होता है। और अगर हम एक तरफ तो अच्छे पेपर की बात कर रहे हैं, अगर अच्छा पेपर पढ़ेगा तो अच्छी मेथोलॉजी मिलेगी उसको, और जब अच्छी मेथोलॉजी मिलेगी तो समझेगा कैसे, तो उसको तो आता ही नहीं बेचारे को, उसने केवल एमकॉम की हुई है। तो एकदम तुम कह रहे हैं कि बी टारगेट करो या सी टारगेट करो, ए टारगेट करो, क्या वो ए और बी सी समझ सकता है? उसको तो समझ नहीं आ रही है चीज, उसने केवल एमकॉम किया हुआ है। तो मेरे हिसाब से क्या होता है कि फैक्ट ये है कि आप थोड़ी सी रिसर्च करके पहले आप अपना एरिया करिए, और साथ में जरूर मैं कहूंगा कि पहले बेसिक्स पेपर पढ़िए। और अगर पेपर नहीं पढ़ पा रहे हैं आप, तो आप स्मॉल ये मैगजीन्स पढ़िए, न्यूज़पेपर पढ़िए, आप उस एरिया को फैमिलियर कीजिए। आप पहले स्टॉक मार्केट की बेसिक को तो समझिए। हम स्टॉक मार्केट इंटीग्रेशन की तो बात करते हैं, पर हमें बेसिक तो मालूम ही नहीं है कि हमें इंडेक्स कितने स्टॉक मार्केट के इंडिया के। तो पहले हमें बेसिक नॉलेज होनी चाहिए, देन वी मूव फॉरवर्ड टुवर्ड्स लिटरेचर रिव्यू। लिटरेचर रिव्यू के अंदर भी हमें पहले बेसिक्स पेपर से शुरू करना चाहिए। जब आप बेसिक पेपर से मूव कर रहे हैं और टेस्ट की तरफ आ रहे हैं, तो उस टाइम आपको जरूर जो भी अच्छे वेबिनार्स हो रहे हैं या अच्छे एफडीपीज हो रहे हैं जहाँ पे अच्छे स्पीकर्स आ रहे हैं, उनका जो टाइम सीरीज है या मल्टीवेरिएट एनालिसिस है या यूनिवेरिएट एनालिसिस है या जो बेसिक रिसर्च है उससे शुरू करना चाहिए। इट्स नॉट दैट कि वी जंप टुवर्ड्स द टॉप मोस्ट दिस वन सॉफ्टवेयर। बेसिक से शुरू करें, धीरे धीरे हमें चलना चाहिए। आप एक दिन के अंदर या एक साल के अंदर आप चाहे मैं ए स्टार में लिख सकता हूँ पेपर, तो मेरे ख्याल से वो बड़ा मुश्किल है। इन वन ईयर यू कैन नॉट राइट अ रिसर्च पेपर फॉर ए स्टार, इट टेक टाइम्स।
Thank you, sir. So that is all from my side.
Right. Thank you, Chanpreet. I would now request Dr. Kaval Gill, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, to present vote of thanks. Ma'am, over to you.
Yeah, it's my privilege to extend a vote of thanks, Dr. Sudhir Rana, Dr. Amit Singh. I've heard you before in the, the editors meet, and I attended it myself. I like that very much.
Thank you.
And yeah, and then everybody is in the process of building research, and the topic that we chose was to encourage our young faculty to do, to learn from the literature review. And I personally feel that unless we are very thorough in the literature review, probably we cannot discover our own dimensions. So we don't even know as to what we are going to research on and how do we proceed. So I have learned this while I did my UGC, major research project, that literature review has to be done in a very vigorous way. You have to learn the new techniques, methodologies, and then research gaps. And I think ideally you can build upon that. So I really want to thank you for telling us a very systematic approach as to how we should proceed. And Dr. Amit is our own friend, and we've been calling him regularly to our college conferences and webinars. So this is the first time that I've heard him, talking, as a colleague. And then he was like more like talking to the young colleague, talking to the students and so well. But yes, I have also learned a lot from him. So thank you so much, Dr. Amit and Dr. Rana. And then finally, I want to extend my thanks to Dr. J.B. Singh, our principal. He's always there, always welcoming, always encouraging us, to do certain things. Then, of course, my entire team is there. Gurminder is there, she's the HOD currently. And then some younger colleagues also manage the show. And not to forgetting mention, the student team, the tech team. They are very, very smart people, and they know how to manage the show. So you've been, live on YouTube as well. So thank you so much, everyone. And I would just request all the resource person to be there just for a very small last photograph. And these guys will click a photograph and then we'll put in our records. So thank you very much, audience.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
So stay on, participants can leave and you can just stay on for a group photo.
Right. Participants are requested to fill the feedback form. Researchers and research scholars and faculty members will be getting e-certificates after the receipt of the feedback form. With this, we have come to an end of the webinar. I would say it was really an insightful session. Thank you all and have a nice day. And I suppose, Kawal ma'am, we have to wait for the...
No.